This show is for informational purposes only. In view of the complex nature of health and disease, it is only recommended that you change your current treatments or healthcare practice with the direct assistance of a health professional. You can contact Dr. Dale if you desire to achieve true health. Call his office at 931-591-2010.
Here's the reality. I'll tell you the truth. The introduction of these shows is one of the, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Let me talk the research. Are you recording right now? Awesome. Awesome. All right, so hey, this is Dr. Dale. I'm your Wild Doc. This is the True Health Talk, both radio show, TV show, online YouTube, future shows. I hope everybody tuning into this episode of True Health Talk gets some valuable information to help your family, your friends, really change this trend line that we have going on right now in this country. I'm talking about the United States here if you're watching overseas, because we've got subscribers from all over the world. We're going to be talking about cancer and what we need to do to truly win this war on cancer. Because right now, we are failing miserably. There are more people dying of cancer in the United States than ever before in history. And that trend line is increasing so rapidly that I believe it was the American College of Oncology or American Academy of Oncology, there it is. The American Academy of Oncology is actually now saying that we're going to be seeing in 2030 in the United States, we're right now about 1.6 million people are being diagnosed each year in the United States with cancer. Now, they are saying that by the year 2030, there's going to be 2.3 million more people diagnosed with cancer, and that they will be short, the oncologists, they will be short 2,500 to 4,080 medical oncologists to treat all the cancer patients in the United States. So take that into consideration when you're listening to this show. I want you to share this episode, share this show, because liking the truth doesn't save lives, only sharing the truth will, as I've said before. Take that into your brains and think about that fact. By the year 2020, not 2030, but by the year 2020, there will be so many people with cancer in the United States, there is not enough people, there's not enough oncologists to treat all those people. So you'll be sitting in a waiting line for months, maybe years, who knows how long, until the oncologist can see you, because they can't treat everybody. So who do we treat? Who do we not treat? Well, what I want to do as the Wild Doc, I want to show you that, number one, your health should never be determined by your financial capabilities. Your health should always be determined by your mindset, your willpower, and your desire to live and thrive in this world. That's what it should be determined by. And the reality is there are things out there in nature that God's given us to literally, I hate the word medicate, but to heal our body, to assist our body in the right processes to be able to ward off things like cancer. And then there are things that we can do, mindset, body, to take care of ourselves so that we instill this power that can refuse the growth of any cancer cell, that can kill every single cancer cell in our body when it comes about. Guyton's medical textbook has said years ago, and it's still published today, Guyton's medical textbook. So this is a medical textbook. Yeah, I read these things. I read a lot of textbooks, a lot of medical journals. I'm going to go through thousands of documents. Literally, you're going to get information from thousands of documents over the next month and, into the future in regards to cancer. Because that's the amount of information that I've looked through, because I want to be the doctor. And this is my desire in my heart, is to help every single person that's dealing with a health condition, whether it be cancer, heart disease, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, a digestive issue, or headaches or back pain. It doesn't matter what condition they have. I want to see people reach their God-given health potential, and that's exactly what I get to do every single day in my clinic. I get to see people heal from anything and everything that they're faced with. I've seen people heal from cancer. I've seen people get off their diabetic and blood pressure medications because they don't need them anymore because they're healthy. And the reality is I don't treat cancer, I don't treat diabetes, I don't treat heart disease. What do I treat in my clinic? What do? I help a person seek out the causes of health problems, seek out the root causes, restoring their body to healing and functioning, getting things out there in nature or in their diet that can actually help them and assist their body in the processes needed to fight off or ward off cancer, detoxify, doing those things that are necessary so that we don't get a full-blown pathological, that means disease process in our body and we become sick or stricken with a disability. You know what? That's what I get to do in my clinic. So my desire is to give you those things so that, number one, your financial capability. If you wanted to heal and you wanted to improve your likelihood of surviving cancer, if you've got it already, money doesn't matter. Your time may. And this is a situation where there may be patients in the bedridden because they have such severe illness and disease like cancer. You know what? Their friends, their family members, they want to help. You know what? I'm going to teach you today about how those friends or family members or yourself, you could go out into the wilderness, out in the woods right now, out in the backwoods, and actually find medicinal mushrooms that have been proven by NIH, National Institute of Health, and FDA research studies to be effective at boosting the immune system, boosting things that are called natural killer cells that go in and seek out and destroy cancer cells when they develop in our bodies. So, these are things you can do on your own with no money whatsoever, just your own time and effort. And I'll tell you this, there's even studies out there showing natural killer cells to increase when you take a walk in the woods, you go for a hike, just looking at the wilderness, looking at trees, looking at God's glory and beauty. They have shown that natural killer cells are increased by just doing that. So there's benefit beyond taking a medicinal mushroom and ingesting it and eating it. But there's benefits from just being out there in the wilderness. This is why I sit in a tree stand all day long, sometimes, especially during the month of November. You know what? It's the rut. You got to be in the tree stand all day long. My friends will know about this stuff. But anyways, again, I'm the Wild Doc. I want to go through this stuff. If you ever need to reach me, you can email me at drdalebrown@gmail.com. I believe we have a email. Well, we'll use that one later. I think it was the Wild Doc something. I forget what my staff put together anyways. But, you can email me right now at drdalebrown@gmail.com. You can actually call my office at 931-591-2010. 591-2010. That's the Clarksville, Tennessee area near Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We're at the Tennessee-Kentucky border. Plenty of wilderness around us, and I could literally take you out in the woods and show you how to identify these mushrooms and be able to help yourself restore health and healing. That's my future dream and plan, is to be able to show people and empower people. I don't want to just be like, hey, I grow these mushrooms and I find them. I don't want you to know what they exactly are and how to identify. I'd rather be like, the way the Lord commanded us. Don't give a man a fish, teach him to fish. That's what I want to do. Yeah, we could probably go out fishing at the same time, but the reality is I'd rather go out, show you some turkey tail mushrooms, how to identify reishi mushrooms, maybe some morels if it's the right season. Oh my gosh, those are like a delicacy. Fry them up in a little coconut oil, sea salt in them, some almond flour. Amazing. I like a little sea salt and like turmeric and stuff like that on them, a little cayenne pepper. I spice mine up. But, there's all kinds of things that we should be eating in our diet that Lord put here on this planet for a reason and a purpose. So we're going to be talking more about that. What I want to do first in this show and in this segment of True Health Talk and the Wild Doc radio show, what I want to do is I want to go through the history of cancer and give you a little history lesson here real quick. We're going to go through, and I'm going to quote from experts in cancer throughout the years. So we're going to start all the way back in 1953. Our government in the United States declared war in 1971 on cancer, and we've lost that war miserably. We've just, here is an article in Time Magazine from 2014, September 16, 2014, Time Magazine. Title of it says, "The Global Cancer Report Card is here." The global, worldwide cancer report card is here. And what do they say? They say we're failing miserably. It says, "We face a future in which the number of cancer-related deaths will increase dramatically unless new and better ways to prevent, detect, and treat cancer can be developed." You know what? I want to tell you the truth right now. That statement, true but still kind of false. True and false at the same time. There are amazing cancer therapies or foods and diets and things. There's amazing ways to boost health. And I got to talk like that because the FDA says that, the only thing that you can call a cure for cancer, treat cancer is, an isolated molecule approved by them. And that's the only way that you can ever say something cures cancer, even though their own studies on turkey tail mushrooms actually shows it to be an immune boosting and they call it immunotherapy. An immunotherapeutic agent to actually boost the immune system, where in places like Japan it's legal and they've been using it for 40 plus years or more. Ancient times they use this type of stuff. It's actually killing cancer cells. They're boosting the immune system, enhancing the body's natural defenses, and by doing so, the body beats the cancer, they keep it at bay. The people taking this, not everybody, but what I'm saying is a significant number, don't need any other therapies other than that right there. Eating some turkey tail mushrooms. Actually, they're doing PSK, it's polysaccharide K. It's an extract from it, and by isolating that group of molecules, that extract is actually very potent and effective. So that's the way they use it, but you can also do this on your own by eating the whole turkey tail mushroom. And we'll talk a little bit about that more. So what my point is there is the fact that statement saying that we need to develop new. No, we need to allow people access in the United States and other countries. We can't let Big Pharma and the FDA suppress cancer, I don't want to say, again, suppress cancer cures, I guess we could call it, but suppress the natural inborn intelligence in nature, suppress the things that boost our immune system, suppress the things that allow us individuals to have the power to heal and recover. That's what they're suppressing. And I've got the proof right here in the research. We're going to go through it in a second because I know I got some naysayers out there and some people that when I talk, they get pissed off before I even start talking. They're like, oh God, it's Dr. Dale again. Here he goes. He's going to go ranting about X, Y, and Z. The reality is, why do I rant and rave? Why? Because somebody needs to tell the truth. And I want to speak the truth to people out there in this community, across the world, across the nation, everywhere. I want to protect and safeguard people from deception, from lies of the FDA and Big Pharma and other. Because there's so many people, this breaks my heart, so many people walking in to oncology clinics right now getting tests that actually cause cancer, like mammography, causes cancer because it's radiation. And the National Cancer Institute indicates that 1 out of 1,000 women who get annual mammograms will actually develop cancer because of the radiation from the mammography screening. And the National Cancer Institute, or National Preventive Service Task Force, a United States government task force that evaluates the effectiveness of certain types of medical procedures and testing, says that only about 2 to 6 women per 10,000, so this is the statistics taken straight from their own words, about 2 to 6 women will have their life extended by annual mammography, so that's 2 to 6 per 10,000. But the National Cancer Institute says 1 out of 1,000 will develop cancer because of mammography. Let's do the math. Let's multiply 1,000 by 10, that gives us 10,000, and then let's multiply 1 by 10, and that gives us 10. So therefore, according to the National Cancer Institute, we have 10 women developing cancer because of mammography. Meanwhile, the only benefits seen is a 2 to 6 women having their lives extended by mammography. Say we're 4, at best, we're 4 in the hole. That's why Switzerland is abolishing mammography. We're not going to go into, I am going to destroy the myth that mammograms save lives. And I'm breaking the hearts of women out there. I know I'm upsetting people and people who swear to God that a mammogram saves their family member's life. But that's the reality we need to discuss. And the Journal of American Medical Association talks about it right here in overdiagnosis and overtreatment of cancer, talking about how the only results, and other research we'll go through in that episode coming up very soon. Watch for that on YouTube if this is a later date that you're watching this. Listen to the radio show, spread the word. We're going to talk about mammography screening on the next episode of True Health Talk and the Wild Doc radio show. So, let me gather my thoughts here real quick. We're going to go through these things. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go through some quotes. I want to go through a history lesson. Let's take a look at quotes of experts and what they've said over the years about the war on cancer. And again, this is even before 1950. This is 1953. They said, we look forward This is Cornelius Rhodes of Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. In 1953, he said, "We look forward to something like penicillin for cancer, and I hope within the next decade." He hopes by decade would be 10 years, right? Decade, centenary, yeah. Yep, that would be right. So what they're saying is by 1963, we should have had something like penicillin. Penicillin's like a fungi. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like a mold and fungi. Mushrooms are a fungus. So we have kind of something that could help us, but we're not really utilizing it enough. Again, that's the turkey tail mushroom. That's the wild remedy for this week's show on the Wild Doc. So, all right, so let's go through some more of these quotes. This comes from Reader's Digest, an article in 1957 on chemotherapy. They say, "There is for the first time a scent of victory in the air." I don't know what victory smells like, but when I put the numbers together and I see hundreds of thousands of more people dying of cancer each year in America since 1957, like that many, that smells like something else to me. That doesn't smell like victory. I don't know about you. But anyways, okay, so we got 1969, a full-page ad taken out in the New York Times Magazine. It says, "American Cancer Society," this is by the American Cancer, the ACS, they say, "We are so close to a cure for cancer, we lack only the will and the kind of money." The will power and the kind of money. 1969, they were honest at least. That went into putting a man on the moon. We just got to have money and a little bit of willpower. Lots of money and a little bit of willpower. No. And all the money, we have put more money into cancer research than any other country out there, yet we still are basically dead last in the number of people dying of cancer. It's horrible. It's atrocious. We've got, again, going back to, the fact is we've got to change our approach. We need to do something different, or we need to shut down the places like the FDA that aren't doing anything but protecting the profits of big pharma and drug companies and suppressing true cancer cures, true things, true health things, things that actually help you heal, help you be well, help you be healthy. Because a drug, pill, potion, or lotion is not going to get you well. It's not going to get you healthy. You have to restore healing. You have to enhance healing. And drugs don't do that. Give me a bottle of chemotherapy, let me drink it right now, burn my insides out so bad I'd die. How is that healing to somebody? It's not. It's using napalm. You might kill the cancer cells, but you blew the person up too. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, we'll go through more of it here. We got testimony to Congress from the director of MD Anderson Hospital and Tumor Institute in 1969. He says, quote, "With $1 billion for 10 years, we could lick cancer." We could lick, just seriously, $1 billion, they could lick cancer in 10 years. 1969 to 1979, what took place? Cancer rates only went up despite getting loads and loads of government taxpayer money. All right. In 1978, Lucine Israel, Conquering Cancer, says, "The next few years we will see the emergence of an arsenal of new cancer drugs." We have not. We're using chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery still. The exact same things we've used since then. So no new arsenals. We have new information, but we're not using those. It's literally like sitting back and you're using a pellet gun to try and cure cancer or destroy an enemy. You're using a pellet gun despite having an RPG. I don't know what cool weapons the military's got, or a 50 caliber. There we go. Or a missile. The reality is it's just stupid what we're using to try and treat cancer right now, because we're not treating the patient. We're just trying to kill the cancer cells, which in the meantime, we're destroying and damaging the cellular immune system. We're destroying and ridding the body of its capability of healing afterwards. We're causing cancerous stem cells to be developed, and the research shows that chemotherapy and radiation causes cancer cells to develop stem cells, which then cannot be treated with a second go-around because they're immune to the chemotherapy and the radiation. So then the next time you get cancer, that's why it's so deadly. Man, we got to use the arsenal we have, and that is things in nature, things in the wilderness, things in our own body, ways to harness and enhance our natural immune responses. And since I'm on that subject real quick, that was one of the things this Time Magazine article talked about in 2014. They said that new therapies will look to harness the body's own immune system and co-opt it in fighting the cancer. So that's how they're going to fight cancer. They're saying, like, if we can harness the immune system, that's how we can beat it. So here we have a quote from John C. Baylor, MD, New England Journal of Medicine in 1986. He says, some 35 years of intense effort focused on improving treatment must be judged as a qualified failure. So again, I'm telling you, I know people think this is just Dr. Dale's opinion. This is just his idea. This is the wild doc. He's outrageously crazy and he's too wild for me. I couldn't go. Do you want a doctor who's passionate, tall, get out about wanting to help people? Like, that's who I am. My wife sometimes tells me I need to take a break. You know, and I do. I need to spend time with my family, my son, my children. I love my family, but so much of my life is just desiring to see truth come out in our healthcare industry, to see no longer that people who are stricken with cancer are taken advantage of by a corrupt system. And that's what's going on right now. We need to see it. We need to realize it. The facts are there. The FDA, the CDC, the organizations that we've entrusted to protect our health or help us get information that helps us all be healthier is not doing the job that we believe they should be, that our society needs and deserves. That's not what they're doing. That's why the truth is coming out. He admits it. Cancer deaths, quote, cancer deaths can be cut in half by the year 2000, according to Peter Greenwald, MD, a National Cancer Institute, 1989. 1989, he said he would cut cancer deaths in half in 10 years. By 2000, well, 11 years. We'll give him that extra year. So 1989, how many people died of cancer? That's the question. If that statement was going to be true and he held true to what he thought they could do, well, 496,000 people died of cancer in 1989, roughly. In 2000, 552,000 people died. More than 50,000 more people died from cancer in less than 11 years. All right, in 2016, according to ACS, we are expected to see 596,000, almost 600,000 people die of cancer. Guys, that number is real because those people, that number is 600,000 mothers, fathers, children, grandparents who have lost their lives to cancer or will lose their lives to cancer in this country right now. That's unacceptable to me because we have the things that could reduce that rate significantly if we only utilize them. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. We're going to talk about the things that you can do to harness the power of your body to be able to heal, to function, to restore life, to fight off cancer cells specifically. By enhancing health, we understand that the immune system kills cancer cells. So nothing I'm saying is about treating cancer. What I'm saying is I want you to realize that you can enhance your body's capability of functioning and healing. That's what I'm telling you. Because again, I can't say that I'm treating cancer. This should be used to treat cancer. It's not. But we can talk about the evidence and the research that shows that it was effective in helping people survive longer who had cancer because of the effects on the immune system or the effects on the nervous system, those types of things. And that's what we need to look toward. Enhancing health, not battling disease. We should create a war on health. Everybody be healthy then, probably. Anyways, for most of today's common solid cancers, the ones that cause 90% of cancer deaths each year, chemotherapy has never proven to do any good at all. Dr. Ulrich Abel, University of Heidelberg, 1990. And again, folks, these are some of the world-renowned cancer experts saying this stuff. Overall, and that's the truth, research studies have shown that chemotherapy, cytotoxic chemotherapy, is only 2.3% effective in Australia and 2.1% in the United States, according to the research. because chemotherapy does not rid the body of the cause of cancer. In fact, you put more chemical toxins, which is chemotherapy, into the body that's already weak. And that's why some of the latest research studies coming out from the New England Journal of Medicine this year are saying that a large majority of people who die from quote-unquote cancer, because that's what's on their death certificate, die from chemicals toxicity of chemotherapy within the first 30 days, indicating that it was the chemotherapy, not the cancer that killed them. You know, that toxins cause cancer. How does another toxin cure cancer? Yes, it kills cancer cells because they're a weaker cell, but the reality is that's not a restoration of health and a prevention of future reoccurrence of cancer. And that's the goal, because the future occurrence and the future continued growth and the continued deterioration of the person's status of health, the deterioration, that's what takes their life. Not a tumor, not a mass. I mean, I've said this before. A woman could walk around with a wheelbarrow carrying a tumor that was in her breast, but as long as it didn't go and the body kept it that size, not going into the internal organs, those things, you know what? It wouldn't harm the woman. But we decide we got to remove the breast. We've got to put chemotherapy and radiation in that cause cancer cells. We got to do all the things that don't restore health, but we only do the things that remove the isolated tumor. And cancer cells, the tumor is nothing more than the symptom of an unhealthy body, a body that can't, at that moment in time, completely suppress the continued growth of irregular growing cells, of cells that have gone awry, that aren't controlled by the nervous system, aren't able to be killed off by the immune system. That's what cancer cells is. But it's the environment of your body, it's the soil that is fertile for cancer cells to continue to grow that allows cancer to get out of control and kill somebody. But the disease itself, get this, the disease is within the body. It's not the tumor, that's not the disease. That's the identifying factor that says you have cancer finally by medical tests. But that's not the problem. The tumor isn't the problem. The tumor is the result of problems that have taken a toll and put a stress on your body to where you can't regulate proper cellular growth. So, and we're going to talk about what cancer is actually, and I love an article here in the Medical Hypothesis, 2006 had a great article about cancer as a functional repair tissue. Actually, the genes, we'll get into it in a second, it's unbelievable how well they break it down and help people. They could help people with this explanation, how much this will help people understand the value of getting to root causes rather than continuing just to blast cancer cells with chemoradiation and surgery. So, okay, overall death rates from many common cancers remain stubbornly unchanged or even higher than when the war on cancer began. All right, and that's E. Marshall, MD, Science Magazine, 1991. Evidence has steadily accrued that cancer therapy is essentially a failure. N.J. Temple, MD, Journal of Royal Society of Medicine, 1991. I get a lot of quotes from overseas because they're not afraid to speak the truth. It's sad that in the United States there's a lot of doctors who are unwilling to speak the truth. But I'll tell you right now, a book that I think every single person should read, every man right now with prostate cancer or past prostate cancer needs to read this book. It's called How We Do Harm by Otis Webb Brawley. That man is a chief scientific officer for the ACS, the American Cancer Society. That book right there talks about how prostate cancer, the treatments kill men faster from diabetes and heart attack and stroke and proliferation of their intestinal linings and systemic infections from burning holes in their gut and in their colon. You know, he talks of a friend of his that actually died of cancer therapies despite him. This massively intelligent individual says the whole prostate cancer industry is a money-making scheme and it's killing people. He says, quote, maybe not exact quote because I ain't got the book in front of me, but he says, if we stopped treating prostate cancer, yes, we would see prostate cancer deaths go up, he says. But that would actually be a good thing because prostate cancer is such a slow-growing cancer that the majority of men would, they'd be allowed to live. So by so what he says, we would actually see cancer deaths go up. That would be a good thing because we'd be allowing men to live long enough to eventually die of the prostate cancer rather than killing them with the drugs we're using right now to try and blast the cancer cells or suppress their hormones, which then cause diabetes and heart attack and strokes, and those conditions kill more men faster than the prostate cancer. So you get that. If you know somebody with prostate cancer, get them that book, How We Do Harm by Otis Webb Brawley, American Cancer Society Chief Scientific Medical Officer. So we're going to talk about that. Let me finish up with these quotes here. It's a failure. What we're doing is a complete failure. We need to change. All right. Now in 1975, I love Dr. James Watson's quote. This is a really good quote right here. He says, when asked about the National Cancer Program in the United States, Dr. James Watson says, it's a bunch of shiitake. Yep, can't say what he actually said. He said it's a bunch of shiitake. Which, mind you, shiitake mushrooms is another one of those medicinal mushrooms that can build your immune system. So now that we're talking about mushrooms, let's talk about mushrooms a little bit more. All right, so let's talk about the mushroom turkey tail. You know, like I said earlier in the show, the National Institute of Medicine, or National Institute of Health, as well as the FDA, have funded research studies and improved these research studies to allow for universities in the United States to actually begin studying. University of Maryland, University of Bastyr, they did studies on turkey tail mushrooms and its effectiveness at actually boosting the immune system. So helping, what they said here, and let me read some of these statements, and then what I'll do is I'll break it down, help you understand it, so you can see the evidence for yourself. And again, I'm always going to be putting these, I'm going to be sending out all the information, the links to these research articles, the articles that I talk from and I discuss on these shows. I always link those both in the YouTube or on, you'll go on thewilddoc.com, and if you subscribe, you'll get an email after these shows. If you've watched it on the date that we initially played it, you'll see that we email out the PDFs with a list of the research documents and information that we've discussed. And then over time, we'll be building that website up to where we'll have the evidence and research within searchable links and articles and things like that. So we're in the process of building that. That's something I desire to build, and that's my vision for the future. So we're going to talk about these articles. Again, go to thewilddoc.com and subscribe to the email campaign, to where the truth campaign. That's what we should call it. But here we go. This comes from Huffington Post. It's a simple read article from 2012. They were talking about the recently published research that proved that the turkey tail mushroom was a very effective immune-enhancing medicinal mushroom. Now, they did this in 2000, they're published in 2012, but the reality is Japan's used this and had tons and tons of research. It's just sadly the United States, they want their share of money. Like researchers here in the FDA, they say, well, we got to do it ourselves. We're not going to trust anybody else. And I kind of can understand that. But when you have the track record like the FDA, I don't trust you ever. Anyways, the reality is they did their own studies and they proved what the Japan and other countries have been saying all along, and their research has proven. And the therapies they use on their community members and their countrymen, they use these immune therapies like turkey tail and isolated PSK, polysaccharide K. They use that to boost natural killer cells in the body. Natural killer cells are, again, these immune cells that go in and they kill cancer cells. They find them, they seek them out, and then they kill them. All right, so that's how natural killer cells, if enhanced, would be helping a person survive cancer or beat cancer. So the National Institutes of Health, they tracked whether or not turkey tails could positively affect the immune system of patients and help them rebound after they ended their therapy or the radiation therapy. Now that's an important point to kind of talk about here, is they wanted to see whether they could help bring somebody's health back, their immune system strength back, after not the cancer cell, cancer destroyed it. Now cancer will occur when the immune system is weaker and it's able to grow out of control. That's when it gets out of control, when the immune system is so weak. But the cancer doesn't have a significant lowering effect on the immune system. Cancer occurs because the immune system is lowered. I hope everybody understands that. That's a key point to be made to every single patient out there right now battling cancer if they can enhance their immune system. Or for the entire society, look at ways to enhance and improve the body's functional capability. Okay, that's why in my office we're always doing heart rate variability studies that shows us the function of the nervous system, which controls the immune response. And then we're doing things like lifestyle questionnaires, which have been proven better than any genetic test out there for determining whether somebody's likely to develop cancer or not. Yeah, it's a simple test, but it's effective. And by changing lifestyle, we do better than going and getting a $4,000 genetic test and then saying, oh, you have this gene, so let's cut your breasts off. That's what medicine right now is doing. When in fact, the research shows, okay, since I went into it, here's the article, Why Genetic Tests Don't Help Doctors Predict Your Risk of Disease. It says, and this was published in the American Journal of Human Genetics, they said that the disease models generated a variety of statistical combination of genetic and environmental factors, but none of the genetic testing and analysis produced any marked improvement in predicting disease risk over lifestyle factors alone. So lifestyle factors alone, a simple questionnaire, is more effective than any genetic test for telling you your risk of disease. Now, what about the BRCA1, BRCA2 genes, BRCA19? I don't know why I think a truck driver when I say that. The BRCA1, BRCA2 genes, I don't know why my head went there. Anyway, squirrel. Anyway, okay. So, the BRCA1, BRCA2 genes, BRCA genes 1 and 2, they're genes that are actually signaling for programmed cell death. What that means is apoptosis, or apoptosis means, that's the term for programmed cell death. Every cell in your body has a programmed cell death mechanism by which they should actually die, in essence commit suicide. They should die on their own throughout their lifestyle. They should go through a lifestyle. They live, they're born, a cell replicates, 2 cells are born, and then 1 dies off, and then the next one. So it's replicating and replacing, not just adding to. When the BRCA1 and 2 gene, when they become mutated and damaged, because they typically lie on the outside of the telomeres, or they lie towards the outside of the DNA fragments, and the DNA, well, the telomeres protect that. When DNA is damaged enough, then the BRCA1 and 2 genes are damaged more easily, or they lose their expression, and by doing so, then they can't signal for programmed cell death, and that's how they quote-unquote cause cancer. But how do we enhance the expression of those genes is critical, and guess what? Nutrition has been shown to do that. Things like olive oil have been shown to do that. I mean, there's simple nutritional things to actually enhance the expression of that gene. So instead of saying, well, if you have that gene, you may be more susceptible because it's outside, towards the outside of your DNA. So therefore, if it's out there, it's more likely to get damaged because typically DNA damage occurs from the outside in. And if you were to say, let's start protecting and enhancing the telomere length. Well, guess what? As a chiropractor, I know for a fact, and I've seen this in the research, that telomere lengths are increased. So it means that the DNA protection ends, the ends of your DNA, the telomeres that protect it, are actually increased. So you have more protection against DNA damage through regular chiropractic care because it lowers a neurological stress in the body. And again, I talked about heart rate variability studies because it's a functional assessment of how your nervous system is working and healing and controlling the systems in your body, and that's critical. Another questionnaire that should be used is simple. One question: are you constipated? Are you constipated? And get this, if you don't go to the bathroom roughly 2 times a day, number 2 twice, you should say that. Say it again. I need to go number 2 twice, number 2 twice. Why? And you shouldn't have diarrhea either because then you're not absorbing nutrients. Well, and that could put you at risk of cancer. But constipation specifically, there's a research study right here in front of me. This comes from the 1911 British Medical, 1911, that's how far back this research goes, and that's how much I've read research. It's ridiculous. So 1911 British Medical Journal talks about chronic intestinal stasis. Stasis meaning intestines, digestive tract, chronic, it's been there for a long time. Stasis, not moving, static, not moving, treated by short-circuiting or colorectal ectomy. So they actually, what they do is they cut out your colon and they increase oral, mouth, to fecal rear end. We won't say what that is, but the timing, how long does food take to go from your mouth through your digestive tract and out your rear end? You know, that's timing. That's oral to fecal timing. So by measuring that, people who are constipated and spent more time in their intestines would actually ingest more toxins And because it wasn't removed, even healthy food became toxic to the body. And what they said is, as a result, what this would do is it would result in an absorption of an amount of toxic material greater than can be efficiently dealt with by those individuals, and things like cancer would develop. Well, after they did colorectalectomies, they actually cut the colons out, increased oral fecal timing, literally giving the women diarrhea. They could actually reverse precancerous cells in the breast tissue. Cancer cells in the breast tissue of the body would heal because it became less toxic. That's a lot less harmful than what we're doing right now. But am I asking for women to have their colons cut out? No, I'm not saying like let's have a charge for everybody get your colon cut out if you have breast cancer. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is take that understanding and that research right there and use common sense and say, what controls the digestive tract? Well, that's the nervous system. See, the brain's got to communicate down the spinal cord, out the nerves, and control the digestive tract movement, the peristalsis, the muscle movement that pushes fecal matter through and food through as it's digested. Well, if that doesn't move, if I cut the nerves that go down your arm goes limp. It doesn't move. It's paralyzed. Well, what happens if I put pressure on the nerves that control the digestive tract? You begin to shut them down. They work less efficiently, less effective. They can't push the food through. It gets backed up. The person becomes constipated. They can't absorb nutrients as well. And then their body becomes more and more toxic. And ironically, why do women have more? Why is breast cancer the biggest cancer in women? Why? Because guess what? Women's bodies, their body was designed for the breast tissue to uptake a ton of nutrients for processing in the breast and then actually giving it to baby when they would breastfeed. So that was natural, that was an amazing design for the benefit of babies that God gave us. But by constipation, what happens in, not reverse, but basically what happens is now it's toxins rather than nutrients that get uptake directly into the breast tissue, and they become more and more concentrated. See, nutrients are supposed to concentrate in the breast tissue to give baby more nutrients and help baby grow very rapidly and healthy. Well, by having constipation, and think about this in terms of your babies, ladies. Let me finish that thought. Like, here I go. I'm like, what about the babies? What about the children? I'm like, what about the toxins that women are giving their babies if the women are constipated after they gave birth and now they're breastfeeding, trying to give the best nutrition to their babies? But I'm not saying that if you're constipated, don't breastfeed. Oh my God, where am I going with this? Get this, okay? So the toxins, they get in there, and then the toxins cause cancer. So we've got to remove toxins. But that all comes down to back to the nervous system if we can enhance. And that's why every single person, whether you have cancer, heart disease, diabetes, or just constipation at this moment in time. And if you have constipation, that's a warning sign. That's what I'm getting at here. I guess that was probably my whole point about this. If you have constipation, you've got to give me a call. You've got to get rid of the root cause of why that's happening. And if there's pressure on the nerves in your lower back that don't allow for the brain to signal to the digestive tract to allow it to push food through, and that's why you're constipated, you got to get pressure off those nerves. We've got to take a look at the spine so their body can detoxify. And women who are trying to breastfeed their babies to give them the greatest nutrition, you know what they need to be adjusted? They need to get rid of constipation so that they're giving nutrients and not toxins to their little babies. You know, and then think about the risk of cancer in their, there's just a snowball effect. Your health impacts your family, everybody around us, your babies, everything. All right, so back to the turkey tail mushrooms here. All right, so here we go. So they say immunity as measured by the number of lymphocyte cells and natural killer T cells, natural killer cell activity usually declines dramatically after radiotherapy. So after radiation, it just destroys your immune system, so does chemotherapy. Well, natural killer cells, those cells protect us from tumors and viruses. So this morning, what I did, I've been doing a stinging nettle tea, and then there's lots of benefits to that. Anti-cancer, the most nutritional. I've talked about that in the past, but it's amazing nutrition. And in the turkey tail mushroom, I had some from my last deer scouting trip out in the woods. I just pulled turkey tail mushrooms off the bark and the dead and fallen trees and stumps, and I just fill my pockets full while I'm out there taking hikes or out there hunting. And when I do, yeah, it's right here. So this is turkey tail mushroom right there. That's turkey tail mushroom. This is a big, beautiful, I call it like a blossom, but they don't actually blossom like flowers. But that's turkey tail mushroom. I've got a bunch more. And this I've allowed to dry, so now it's good. I can store it in my cabinets. And what I do is I just tear that up, or I'll grind it up in a blender, and then I soak it and make it, add it to my teas. And by doing so, they've shown, and this article will describe it, they show you how you can actually enhance your immune response and help more than just, this isn't just cancer. When you enhance the immune system, you help with everything in terms of your cellular immunity. Your immune system's stronger, you can fight viruses, bacteria, colds, flus, everything. So I keep these on hand for my family, and we make teas out of them when we're fighting the flu. I take it and just add it to it periodically because I want more natural killer cells in my body to fight off cancer. So I do it as a preventive, just because God let me stumble upon it. I have tripped over logged. I've literally stumbled upon this stuff. And, God allowed me to do that. And I said, look, there's turkey tail. And I said, okay, let me eat that. And I ate it. And it doesn't taste, it's really chewy. It's like chewing on rubbery bark when it's new. Anyways. And I got another one over here, and this is reishi. And we'll probably get into some reishi mushroom science and research here soon. But they've actually studied this one against cancer as well. And we'll be talking about that. That's the wild doc right there coming out, like the wilderness remedies. That's what we need to get a hold of. So, I want those cells. I want them killing cancer. If you do too, go out and find some turkey tail mushrooms. All right, so here's a direct quote from the research study. And this research study, I will be, again, in my email from this show, PDF. You'll have a link to this actual research study. It's called Phase 1 Clinical Trial of Trametes versicolor. It's various colors is what that means. That's why they call it turkey tail, because it looks like a turkey's tail because it's various colors. And it's a polypore, which means multiple pores on the underside. You got to know, if you're going out in the wilderness and identifying mushrooms, do it at your own risk. You always got to say that. It's kind of like a duh. Or just let your friend eat it first and watch what happens, and then you can decide whether you want to eat it too or not. And if they start talking about leprechauns and stuff, but not medicinal mushrooms, that's hallucinogenic mushrooms, don't eat those. Anyways, leprechauns, yep, I just went there. Anyways, Trametes versicolor represents a novel immune therapy with significant applications in cancer treatment. The CD8 CD8 positive T cell counts over a 9-week period of time, doses escalating. So from 3 grams, 6 grams to 9 grams of this Trametes versicolor would enhance the immune response. So 9 grams, they saw the greatest. No toxicity, no negative effects. That's really cool. That's unlike any other cancer therapy currently being used in the United States. Everything's pretty much cancer-causing and toxic to our bodies that we use right now. These aren't. Immunotherapy, amazing. Due to its long history of therapeutic use, they say, however, turkey tail prepared and packaged as an immune therapy drug is unlikely to be patentable, deterring big pharmas, big drug companies from conducting costly clinical trials needed to quote-unquote get it to, even though they did this in females and breast cancer patients, they saw a benefit in stage 4 metastatic breast cancer patients benefiting their immune system, which would naturally be able to enhance their ability to live longer, which it did, but it's non-patentable. See, this is the issue. You know that doctor in the quotes that I said a little bit ago? This new arsenal of drugs and stuff? Or we just need something like penicillin? You know what? Here's the fact. That right there, because it's not patentable, meaning they can't make $1 billion, trillions of dollars on it, that's why we don't get it. That's why you can't buy it and it can't be advertised and marketed like it's a cancer drug. And that's what I'm not doing, is marketing this as like a cancer drug. Definitely not doing that at all. Definitely not. Definitely not marketing it like a drug. I don't sell it. I'm telling you, go out in the woods and find it. I'm telling you and talking to you about the research, which nobody wants to do in this day and age. We always want to we want to be the doctors that are like, I've got this great therapy and this great new drug or supplement, and it's, it's going to save thousands of lives. Actually, I lied about the research and whatever, but not me. That's what happens with drugs. But, and then they say, you can't get it unless you pay me $50 bajillion. Then you can get it. That's the way our healthcare system currently is running, basically. We'll go through that article later. It's the high cost of living. That's a great article to read in terms when you want to look at the financial devastation of cancer drugs in the cancer industry. So, since the late 1960s, researchers in Japan have focused on how turkey tail benefits the human health and how the extracts of turkey tail can boost the immune system. You know, they had it for 40 plus years, tons and tons of research. You know, we should just start implementing it. But let's talk about this, okay? The natural killer cells promoted by ingesting turkey tails also targeted viral infections, and there's also what's called viruses, oncoviruses, so viruses that cause oncogenes to be turned off or manipulated, and then it causes cancer. So these viruses are really harmful. So if you can kill hepatitis C viruses can be killed with turkey tail mushroom, and HPV can too, so really great additional benefits. So here's one of the biggest things that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to talk a little bit more. We got a couple minutes here left in the show. We're going to talk about the problem, the major problem. Why more people? Why again? 1989, we had 496,000 people die of cancer. In 2000, 552,000. In 2016, 596,000. And why we're expected to be lacking. We're not lacking oncologists at all. We won't be lacking oncologists in 2020 if we can prevent cancer and give people the tools that they can find in their backyard to help them beat cancer and detoxify and talk to people about true health and healing. If we can do that and show people those ways, help them walk that path, we won't be lacking all these oncologists to give chemo and radiation and surgery. Stuff hasn't changed in the last 50 years in cancer therapy. Nowadays, they're actually showing that the less treatment, the better results they're getting. If they use less chemo, it's better results. If they use less radiation, better results. Less surgery, better results. It's basically what's happened and why more people are able to survive, because they're not being killed off by the chemo and radiation and everything. That's the truth, folks. And I've got the research and I've got it all, and we're going to go through it the rest of this month and give you this stuff so that you can become aware, educated, grab knowledge so you don't perish. For lack of knowledge, is people will perish both in the spiritual, and I believe and I see it in the physical. That's why this is the True Health Talk with the Wild Doc. All right, before approving a foreign-made drug, the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has many requirements. One is the active principal ingredients. The active principal, API, the active principal ingredient must be identified. But the problem is, like with turkey tail, why they won't approve turkey tail, even though the research that they have shows it effective, while other countries use it as an effective anti-cancer therapy, why they won't approve it and quote-unquote say we can give this to cancer patients as a therapy to help them survive and live longer. We can't do that because you can't show me the one single molecule inside, because it's a polysaccharide, many saccharides, sugars, and proteins that actually have this beneficial effect. That's why whole food things like turmeric have such an amazing benefit but can't be patented, because you can't isolate the one little molecule thing that's, oh, that's it, that's the one thing. No, the car runs because it has an alternator, it has gaskets, it has pistons and cylinders, it has a computer, it has tires, it has everything, and that's why you can get somewhere with it. Be like, what in that car, in that turkey tail, allows you to get from point A to point B? What exactly? Is it the alternator? Is it the tires? What is it? That's the FDA for you, folks. It's not the whole thing. It's got to be one thing. And because it's not one thing, because you can't isolate the one thing, the FDA will not allow it to be patented or approved for use in treating and helping cancer patients. There you go. Thank you very much. You know what's the FDA. Can't stand it. All right, so let's talk about real quick what the FDA does allow. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got only about 5 more minutes in this show. We're going to talk more about it, but I will begin the next show first off with showing you how destructive the FDA, how manipulated the FDA is right now. We've got right here in front of me, Journal of American Medical Association, research misconduct identified by the Food and Drug Administration, and I will take you through the facts of this research study showing that clinical trials behind cancer drugs allowed doctors, the FDA allowed doctors to commit murder to make drugs look good. Doctors committed murder, they committed fraud, manipulated data, killed people so that drugs would be approved and given to cancer patients so that the drug companies could make money, and that's what's taking place. And we'll be talking about that in more. Again, the U.S. cancer care delivery system is in crisis. Something needs to change, and we need to change now. No more waiting around. We need public outcry, community outcry of educated individuals saying, we deserve and demand better by our government institutions, by our medical community, by our doctors. You know what, if you want to seek, listen, this is the reality. I want to help people be well, be healthy, reach your God-given health potential. That's what I can help you do. And I'm speaking to the cancer patients. I'm speaking to the people suffering with fibromyalgia. I'm speaking to the people in back pain, that I want to help you. I want you to give me a call, 931-591-2010. 931-591-2010. What could it hurt? If you've got cancer, just listen. Pay me to sit down with you and just go through all of this with you. I'll sit down with several hours for a fee that would be pennies on the dollar. We'll figure it out. What do you think is fair? I mean, that's the kind of person I'm like, I want to help people. You know, there is a value to knowing the truth, knowing this information, doing things additional outside of what the medical community is. If you just have that information at your fingertips, and that's the key thing that I do in my clinic different than any other physician, I believe. Any other physician, at least in this community, any other physician in the majority. There are a lot of them out there, but they're few in the terms of how many people need this type of doctor. Doctors are teachers. That's what we should be doing first. We need to teach people how they can fish for their own health rather than just handing them a fish. And we're not even handing them a fish like we're handing them a scorpion or a shark or a tiger shark. It's like that's the way healthcare is happening right now. Yeah. Anyways, again, make sure that you like us on Facebook. Right now it's called Marathon Chiropractic, but it'll be going towards the Wild Doc very soon. So like one or the other, depending on when you're watching this video, go to thewilddoc.com, subscribe, get these emails, share these videos, share the truth. Don't just like the truth, because sharing it is the only way we save lives. That's how I'm going to end this show. God bless everybody.